I think some more interesting stats here is that 46% of the people use their iPad 2 to 5 hours every day. I come from a web world. Those stats and those engagements and how people are really, really digging in and using them, yeah, pretty remarkable, right? And 74% of the people are using it every day. It's pretty outstanding. And as you can see, again, that's my little guy in the right-hand corner. He's following along. So this screen, I just want to touch upon touchscreen interactivity and sort of where we are. 3 years ago, it wasn't really highly understood. And, when you're getting in and you're going to start designing iPad apps, the first place to go, I'd say, is just to get a really solid understanding of Apple's human interface guidelines. They're critical. They'll really set you off in the right direction. They're very thoughtful. But I would say that we have matured, certainly, over these past 3 years about how touchscreen interactivity is working. At launch, when the Daily first launched, about a year and a half ago, we really need to sort of keep in mind some sort of still like I'd say Chrome navigation where there's baked-in navigation that we ran across the top that really highlights the core different sections of what the Daily are. We're getting to a place where you can start relying more on touchscreen interactivity, more gesture-based interactivity, pinching and swiping. The number one activity that happens on the Daily right now is just swiping to the left. It's 90-some-odd%. That's how a lot of people just navigate throughout the app, right? And so when you're building these also, I think it's really important, and some good lessons learned here, is that the gestures that you do need to be consistent, right? I think there's been a ton of apps that are out there, especially early, where people were swiping up and down, left and right, and sort of getting sort of lost as you're traversing your way throughout the application. Consistent gestures is really, really critical, right? I think it's also really important is that when I'd say a lot of the focus group tests that we've done and some of the listening labs that we've done is that how people approach their iPads are much different than how they approach the web. On the web, they're, I'd say, a bit more cautious of what they click and how they click. Within their iPad, they're jamming away on stuff all the time. Fearful, not fearful, jumping right in, tapping and doing a lot of discovery. So I think a lot of those fears of I'm going to click on the wrong thing has sort of washed away because obviously it's the primary way that people are navigating through is through touch screen. So people are really jumping in. And you got to make sure that the hot spots that you're developing where you're clicking on things are big enough for actual fingers to touch on, and Apple's human interface guidelines touch on they touch on that often, and it's critical. So